So next in our dark rhetoric conversation here, as we kind of roll through some of these techniques and tactics, and again, this is not about labeling and pointing and all of that kind of stuff. It's about understanding that these are techniques that we all might use on a regular basis to essentially not move the conversation forward because there's areas of opportunity or discomfort that we are avoiding or what have you. When other people do it to you, it's about understanding what it looks like so that you can navigate it successfully. This technique I want to talk about next is as a type of baiting technique. So the techniques in general can kind of fall into a couple of different domains. There's like the gatekeeping slash sort of restriction of access to the conversation, either through ad hominem attacks or gatekeeping, like we talked about in other episodes. Baiting as a mechanic invites people to participate in a completely different conversation. You'll see things in the bait conversation that masquerade as a reasonable facsimile for the conversation, but are not the same as the issue at hand. So in business, you might hear people say things like they'll do something called setting up a straw man, where they set up essentially a hypothetical situation that is may or may not be practical to resolving the conversation at hand, and then operate entirely in that hypothetical situation. For example, let's say you're talking about a business decision. They might say, well, if you were running a lemonade stand, we would do X and Y and Z. And what you're trying to do is essentially build a different kind of a business completely, or what have you, right? So whatever that straw man looks like, it's always a kind of easy to attack way for them to get their points across and take you out of the actual conversation, which will reduce nuance and reduce complexity. When you look at these kind of baiting scenarios like a straw man, you'll find that the objective here is to maintain control of a conversation and move it out of an area of essentially difficulty and nuance and into an area where they have either a better position or more knowledge or more expertise. This sort of reframing of the conversation, again, is designed to remove power from the other person and take it and put it elsewhere. You'll find that there's other kinds of bait as well. When it comes to a lot of the ad hominem attacks, they act as bait to try and, again, move the conversation out of a place of value and into a place where you're talking about stuff that's irrelevant. It's all a type of distraction technique, again, to maintain that control. When people do it, it's going to be difficult, to say the least, to respond, because if you don't identify its bait, you will swallow it. This is something that really, when somebody's emotionally manipulative or really, really sharp intellectually, they will use these kind of techniques to essentially just move you around. So how can you tell when it's bait? The moment a strongman argument comes up, you'll hear it as a reframing. You said we should X, so the consequences of X are Y. So let's talk about Y forever, right? Let's talk about the nuanced X, Y, and Z sort of consequences of the problem as opposed to addressing the problem itself. When you identify the bait, you want to essentially let everyone know that it's bait. So when somebody says something where they've reduced your argument to something that's silly or trivial, you can say things like, that sounds like a really simplified version of what I said that doesn't capture the entirety of the intent. Or when somebody does this, you can reclaim that definition. Well, no, that's not exactly what I said. Here's what I said and why it matters that the way I said it is relevant to the conversation. Or, we're debating an example I didn't make. Can we get back to the conversation at hand? When you see these kind of bait techniques come up, those might help you resolve them in a meaningful way. When you find yourself setting the bait for other people because your desire to be right is out of control or what have you, be mindful of it and understand that, again, all these techniques are just pointing back at areas for you to develop and grow.